welcome back. So today's card trick is a really nice card trick. It's got multiple layers to it and it is suitable for beginners, intermediate and advanced magicians. You will need to know a couple of things for this, but it's got some really nice wow factors to it. So I'll show you a quick performance and then we'll get into the tutorial. So when I'm performing this, I ask people if they know what a wild card is. Now, I usually give a brief overview if they don't know, but most people know a certain card in the deck in the card game is a wild card. You leave the jokers in, the jokers are wild, etc. I wanted to give kind of a visual example of that. So I've actually got a card which hasn't got anything printed on it. And we're going to get back to it in a moment, but this is going to be our wild card. So I've got a couple of imaginary spectators. So I'd say to the first one to call stop. And let's say they said stop right here at the 5 of spades. And we'll leave that in the centre of the deck. And then the next spectator, I'd ask them to do the same, but not pick the same card, hopefully. So they'd say stop right here. And we would see the ace of hearts. And we'll leave that in the centre of the deck also. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our wild card to give you that visual representation of a wild card. So the cool thing is, if I took this wild card and I gave it just a shake, you can see visually it changes into the ace of hearts, which I believe was the selection over here. So that was cool. We now need to find the next one. And I'm going to try and minimize the movement as much as possible so you can see it. And watch if I take it and go just like that. You can see that that is the selection that was over here, the 5 of spades. Now, it's cool, but it was always a visual representation of this because the wild card has always been the wild card. That was the performance. I just want to say I'm sorry if the microphone's picking up any kind of like heavy breathing. I'm having a couple of problems at the moment sinus-wise, but yeah, please excuse that. I'm sorry. Usually this is done with a joker or an ace of spades. That's where I've seen it done. The original name for this is Joker's Wild, I believe. But I have tried that many times, but the best reactions have come from a blanked face card. Let's say, for example, you choose the, Jack of Hearts as your wild card, and then you get a selection and it's another court card. The contrast isn't great. But this way, it's kind of guaranteed to have a good contrast the whole time. I have performed this multiple times with blank face cards. I've performed it multiple times with normal cards. This one gets the best reactions by far. You go along the premise of wild cards, etc., like I did in the performance, and you set that aside. You then get 2 selections, and I just use the centre double twice. Some people will use a 2-card control, something like that. But basically, you need the 2 cards on top. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a couple of cards that are kind of easy to remember. So let's use the 10 of hearts and my favourite card, the 10 of clubs. So that's those there. Now, if you do the handling like I have done, the second selection will be produced first. Some people will lose the selection and then do a Marlowe tilt and have it second from the top. But I'm kind of a bit of a believer when you're doing one trick and you're doing the same thing, it kind of needs to replicate. But that's just my personal opinion. What you need to do now is you need to do a colour change. So you're going to push over a single card and get a break. So that's the 10 of clubs. And then you're going to bring back the wild card. So when you're kind of showing this and showing the back, you're just pushing over and getting a break. And then you're going to have it face up on top. Now, you can do a couple of things here. You can do what I tend to do is the shape change, which I feel is really nice and visual. I also like to use the paintbrush card switch like that. But either way, you've got 2 cards face to face, and you need to do a color change. So I did the shape change in the performance like that. Now, what you're going to have to do when you're showing this, what I tend to do is I show the back as an extra convincer, which really helps for some people that are quite skeptical. And what I'm doing when I'm showing this is I'm just getting a break underneath 2 cards. Pinky count for me is probably the best one, and I'm not a huge user of the pinky count, but seems to work really well in the card trick. So now you've got this single card, and then you're going to have lift a double instead of a single, like you did in the last one. Not those many cards. You're going to have the 10 of hearts and the blank card. So you're going to have this face up on top of the deck and then lift up all of it. This is going to have those cards there and then the 10 of clubs face up there. And this one took a while for me to get the hang of. I always found the shapeshifter change quite inconsistent for me, but I really feel this works really well, because if you do the shake change, which is the shaking, and then you mentioned that you're going to try and reduce the movement so that you can see it as visually as possible, I've noticed that kind of pattern tends to go down quite well. So I've been doing the shapeshifter, and it seems to work quite well, sometimes better than others, but it's consistent enough now that I've practiced to not kind of, sometimes when you practice it can go like that or not rotate the full way, but I've got it so it's like that. Once you've done that, you're going to just put it face up on top of the deck, because remember, behind that is the wild card. You need to have a break between two cards because you've got the 10 of hearts and the wild card. And then what you're going to do now is you're just going to turn it over. And I had it extended out like this. Usually I will put it in my pocket. I've usually got like a blazer on, and I usually just ditch the deck. If you have to have the deck kind of kept out, just do a Charlier to bury those other two cards. I've had people before try and look at the top card, and luckily I did the Charlier beforehand, and for some reason they didn't see it. And you're going to get into the final reveal. Now, take your time with these. It's really nice when you take your time, and yeah, you just kind of show. You can do a kind of flick or whatever, it depends. And yeah, then you basically show the wild card. They always have a look at it, and it goes down really well. Really good trick. Really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial of this. So optionally, you can change the colour changes. One that I like to do is the paintbrush switch. Don't know if I've mentioned that. I do like doing that in that particular trick, but I do need to modify the handling slightly. But you'll understand as you're going through and you try different colour changes where to adapt it. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please drop a comment if you enjoyed, and let us know in the comments how it is you perform this trick. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next video.